The stars looked different from inside the bridge of the Zephyrian ship. Captain Vextai had been traveling between worlds for 30 years, but this solar system felt strange. His ship, the Harmony's Edge, moved slowly through the dark space. Around the third planet from the sun, the world below was blue and green, covered in water and land masses that looked beautiful from far away. "Captain, I'm getting readings," said Kethra from her station. She was the ship's communications officer, a young Zephyrian with bright purple scales and 4 arms that moved quickly over her controls. "There are electromagnetic signals coming from the planet. They're artificial." Vextai stood up from his command chair. His tall, thin body moved with the grace of his species. Like all Zephyrians, he had 4 eyes that could see in different directions at once. This helped when exploring new worlds. "What kind of signals?" "Radio waves, data transmissions, and something else. The patterns are complex. Too complex for a primitive species." Kethra's voice carried worry. In all their years of exploration, they had never found a species this advanced. The captain walked to her station and looked at the readings. The Galactic Confederation had sent them to check this system because their long-range sensors had detected unusual energy patterns. Most of the time, when they found intelligent life, it was simple. Cave dwellers, early farmers, maybe some basic metalworking. The Confederation would make contact, offer protection, and add another junior member to their growing alliance. "Run a deep scan," Vextai ordered. "I want to know everything about this planet before we make contact." Geltak, the navigation officer, turned from his station. He was older than Kethra, with darker scales and scars from previous missions. "Captain, the scans show massive cities, orbital satellites, and what looks like space stations around their moon. This species isn't primitive." Vextai felt his scales tighten, a natural response to stress. "How advanced?" "More advanced than most species we've encountered. They have fusion power, advanced computers, and their space technology appears to be well developed." Geltak paused, checking his readings again. "Sir, I'm also detecting what might be other ships in this system, but they're not showing up clearly on our sensors." The captain's 4 eyes focused on the planet below. Something was wrong here. Confederation's advanced scouts always did basic surveys before sending exploration ships. They should have known. "About an advanced species, Kethra, prepare a standard first contact message. Use the basic protocols." Kethra's hands moved over her controls. "Message ready, Captain. Send it." The message went out on multiple frequencies, as always. It was simple and friendly, designed not to scare primitive species. Hailing unknown. "Vessel. This is the Zephyrian ship Harmony's Edge of the Galactic Confederation. Please respond." They waited. Usually, if there was a response at all, it took time. Primitive species needed to figure out what they were hearing, maybe gather their leaders, sometimes even worship the message as something from their gods. "This is Earth Command Deep Space Monitoring Station, Luna 7. We have you on our scope's unknown vessel. State your intentions and prepare for escort to designated coordinates." The bridge went silent. Kethra stared at her controls like they had betrayed her. Geltak checked his instruments 3 times. Science Officer Yelena, who had been quietly running tests on the planet's atmosphere, turned around with her mouth open. "Did they just... double quotes," Kethra started to say. "They answered in perfect galactic standard," Vextai finished. His voice was quiet, confused. "How do they know our language?" Yelena stood up from her station. She was the youngest member of the crew, barely out of the Confederation Academy. "Captain, that's impossible. We've never made contact with this species. Our database shows no record of humans in Confederation space. Maybe they learned it from someone else?" Geltak suggested. "Other species sometimes share languages." Vextai didn't think so. Response had been too quick, too professional. This wasn't a species struggling to understand a new language. They spoke galactic standard like they had been using it for years. "Kethra, open a channel. Let's respond." "Channel open, Captain." Vextai cleared his throat. "Earth Command. This is Captain Vextai of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet. We are on a peaceful mission of first contact. We mean no harm to your world or your people. Another quick response. Captain Vextai, your ship and crew are welcome in Earth space. However, you will follow our security protocols. Maintain your current position and await escort. Any deviation from our instructions will be considered hostile. The captain's scales went completely rigid. In 30 years of exploration, no species had ever given him orders. The Confederation was the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. They didn't take orders from newly discovered worlds. Sir, Jeltic said quietly, I'm reading energy buildups around the system. Whatever's out there, it's powering up. How many ships? Vextai asked. I can't tell. Our sensors are having trouble getting clear readings. It's like they're using some kind of stealth technology. Elena ran more scans. Captain, I'm detecting massive energy signatures coming from their moon. Whatever they have up there, it's bigger than our largest space stations. Kethra received another transmission. Captain, they're sending navigation data. They want us to follow a specific flight path. Vextai looked at the coordinates. The path would take them around the planet's moon to something called Luna Station. He had never heard of any species building stations that large so quickly after developing spaceflight. Sir Jeltak said, his voice nervous. We have company. On the main screen, 3 ships appeared as if they had materialized from nothing. They were sleek, angular, and larger than the Harmony's Edge. Their hulls were dark metal with markings that read Earth Defense Fleet. In both human writing and galactic standard. Where did they come from? Vextai demanded. I don't know, sir. They weren't on sensors. Then suddenly they were there. It's like they can hide from our detection systems. The lead Earth ship sent a message. Known vessel, you are now under escort. Follow our lead ships to Luna Station. Any deviation from course will be considered hostile intent. Vextai had been in space long enough to recognize military efficiency when he saw it. These humans moved like they had been doing this for a very long time. Their ships were positioned perfectly to control his movement. Their communications were crisp and professional. This wasn't a species making first contact. This was a species that knew exactly what they were doing. Captain Kethra whispered, What do we do? Vextai looked at his crew. They were all scared. In all their training, nothing had prepared them for this situation. The Confederation's protocols assumed they would be the advanced species making contact with primitives. No one had ever considered what would happen if they found someone more advanced than themselves. We follow their instructions, he said finally. Signal our acceptance of escort. As the Harmony's Edge began following the human ships toward their moon, Vextai realized that everything he thought he knew about this part of the galaxy was wrong. The humans weren't a newly discovered species waiting to be protected and guided by the Confederation. They were something else entirely. Something that had been waiting for the Confederation to find them. The question that scared him most was simple. How long had they been waiting, and what did they want? Commander Jake Morrison sat in the captain's chair of the Earth Defense ship Defiant. His dark hair was cut short in military style, and his blue eyes watched the alien vessel on the main screen. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. They had done this many times before. What do you think, Amy? He asked his tactical officer. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez looked up from her console. She was a small woman with quick hands and sharp eyes. It's bioorganic hull design, Captain. Definitely not built for war. I'd say it's an exploration ship. Maybe a science vessel. Jake nodded. Any weapons? Basic defensive systems only. Nothing that could hurt us even if they wanted to try. Amy ran another scan.
Right.
Their technology is about 50 years behind our current standards. Typical Confederation equipment. Jake smiled. The Galactic Confederation thought they were the most advanced alliance in the galaxy. They had no idea that Earth had been watching them for decades. Open a channel to the alien ship. Channel open, Commander. Unknown vessel, you are now under escort. Follow our lead ships to Luna Station. Any deviation from course will be considered hostile intent. Jake kept his voice calm and professional. It was important to sound like this was routine, like Earth. Dealt with alien visitors every day. Actually, they did. On the alien ship, Captain Vextai was trying to understand what was happening. His navigation officer, Geltak, checked his instruments for the third time in 5 minutes. "Captain, these human ships are using technology I don't recognize," Geltak said. His voice was worried. "They're generating some kind of spatial distortion field around us." "What does that mean?" asked Kethra from her communication station. "Means they're controlling our movement without touching us," Vextai replied. He had seen this technology before, but only on the most advanced Confederation battleships. "They're using artificial gravity wells to guide us where they want us to go." Science officer Yelena ran more scans on the human ships. "Captain, I'm reading energy signatures I've never seen before. Their power output is incredible. Each of those escort ships generates more energy than our entire home station." Vextai felt cold inside his scaled skin. "How is that possible?" our scouts reported. "This species only recently developed spaceflight." "Maybe our scouts were wrong," Geltak suggested quietly. On the Defiant, Jake was receiving reports from his other 2 escort ships. The Guardian and the Sentinel were keeping perfect formation around the alien vessel. All 3 Earth ships were equipped with the latest stealth technology, gravity manipulation systems, and defensive shields that could stop anything the Confederation could throw at them. Commander said his communications officer, Lieutenant Pete Collins, "Luna Station is requesting an update. Tell them we're bringing in another Confederation scout ship. Standard procedure, ETA 20 minutes. Pete nodded and sent the message. This was the 15th Confederation ship they had escorted to Luna Station in the past 5 years. Each time, the aliens thought they were making first contact with a primitive species. Each time, they discovered they were very wrong. Amy looked up from her tactical station. "Commander, the alien ship is trying to scan us. Should I block them?" "Let them look," Jake replied. "But give them the basic readings only. No need to show them everything we can do." "Understood, sir." Back on the Harmony's edge, Yelena was struggling to understand her sensor readings. "Captain, their ships appeared to be made of some kind of advanced metal alloy. But there's something strange about the energy patterns." "Strange how?" Vextai asked. "It's like they're not showing us everything. The scans feel incomplete, like they're hiding their real capabilities." Kethra received another transmission from the human ships. "Captain, they're sending us docking. Instructions for something called Luna Station. The data packet includes ... Oh my. What is it?" "Sir, the station specifications are enormous. It's larger than anything in Confederation space. And according to this data, it's been operational for over 60 years. Vextai's 4 eyes focused on the information. 60 years, that was impossible. The Confederation's long-range surveys showed this species had only reached their own moon 30 years ago. How could they have built a massive space station 60 years ago?" "There must be an error in the translation," he said, but his voice lacked confidence. Geltak shook his head. "Sir, I'm running the calculations myself. The energy requirements alone for a station that size would need technology far beyond what we thought this species possessed." As they traveled toward the moon, Vextai watched the human escort ships. They moved with perfect precision, like they had done this escort mission hundreds of times before. Their formation never wavered. Their communication was crisp and professional. These were not the actions of a species new to space travel. Captain Yelena said suddenly, "I'm detecting other ships in the area." "Confederation ships?" "Ah, sir. More human vessels. They're keeping their distance, but they're definitely there. I count at least a dozen, maybe more." Vextai's scales began to change color, a sign of extreme stress in his species. "A dozen ships? How many vessels do these humans have?" On the Defiant, Jake was reading reports from the hidden ships Yelena had detected. The Earth's defense fleet maintained constant patrols around their solar system. What the aliens didn't know was that there were actually over 200 ships in the area, most of them invisible to Confederation sensors. Commander Amy reported, "We're approaching Luna Station. Should I signal the docking bay?" "Do it. Base 7 should be ready for them." Jake had been to Luna Station many times. It was humanity's showcase facility, the place where they brought alien visitors to show them Earth's true capabilities. Most species were shocked by what they found there. The Confederation scouts usually left with a very different understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. "Commander Morrison," came a voice over the communications system. It was Director Lisa Wong, the station's commanding officer. "We're ready to receive our guests. Are they giving you any trouble?" "No trouble at all, Director. They're confused. But cooperative. Standard Confederation exploration crew." "Excellent. Bring them in." As Luna Station came into view, the crew of the Harmony's Edge fell silent. The station was massive, easily 10 times larger than the biggest Confederation facility. It rotated slowly in space, its multiple sections connected by long corridors that sparkled with energy shields. Docking bays covered its surface like windows. On a skyscraper, weapon arrays that could destroy entire fleets pointed outward toward space. "By the ancient stars," Geltak whispered, "what have we found?" But what shocked them most were the other ships docked at the station. Vextai recognized several designs. There were Altarian cruisers, Centauri frigates, even what looked like a vegan diplomatic vessel. All of them had new markings painted on their hulls, Earth's command insignias. Kethra Vexti said quietly, "Are those Confederation ships?" Kethra checked her database. They match Confederation designs, but the markings are wrong. They all show Earth command identification codes. That's impossible. "The Confederation doesn't work with primitive species." Elena looked up from her station. "Captain, what if they're not primitive?" The question hung in the air like a deadly gas. If the humans weren't primitive, then everything the Confederation believed about the species was wrong. And if everything was wrong, then what were they really dealing with? Jake watched the alien ship being guided into the docking bay. Another Confederation scout about to learn the truth. Another species about to discover that humanity had been playing a very long game. "Welcome to Luna Station," he said quietly to himself. "Time to learn who really runs this part of the galaxy." The docking bay of Luna Station was bigger than most spaceports Captain Vextai had seen. The Harmony's Edge looked small inside the massive chamber. Mechanical arms reached out to secure his ship, moving with smooth precision that spoke of advanced technology and years of practice. Through the viewing ports, Vextai could see dozens of other ships. Some he recognized as Confederation designs, but they all wore Earth command markings now. Others were completely alien to him, built with technology he had never seen before. Captain Kethra said from her communications station, "We're receiving docking instructions. They want us to prepare for an official greeting." "How do they know our docking procedures?" Geltak asked. "We've never shared that information with anyone outside the Confederation." Vextai had stopped asking that question. Nothing about this first contact was going according to plan. "Prepare for departure. Full diplomatic gear. Remember, we represent the Confederation now." The airlock opened with a soft hiss. Vextai stepped through first, followed by his crew. The corridor beyond was clean and well lit, with symbols written in both human script and galactic standard. But what made his scales tighten with fear was the woman waiting for them. She was human, middle-aged, with short black hair and calm brown eyes. She wore a uniform that looked professional and military. But what scared him was the small device on her collar that was already translating her words into perfect galactic standard before she even spoke. "Welcome to Luna Station, Captain Vextai," she said with a warm smile. "I'm Director Lisa Wong of the Interspecies Integration Division. We've been expecting you." Behind her stood a group that made Vextai's four eyes widen in shock. There was an Altarian with the distinctive blue skin of his species, a Centauri female with her characteristic tall frame, and even a vegan representative with the flowing robes of their culture. All of them wore Earth Command uniforms. "Do you know my name?" Vextai said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Of course," Wong replied. "Captain Vextai of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet. 30 years of service, expert in first contact protocols. You've discovered 17 new species for the Confederation. Your service record is quite impressive." Kethra stepped closer to her captain. "How do you know all this?" Wong gestured for them to follow her down the corridor. "We make it our business to know about everyone who visits our system. Your ship was identified the moment you entered our space. We've been tracking Confederation scout missions for quite Sometime, they walked through corridors filled with beings from across the galaxy. Humans worked alongside aliens that Vexti recognized and others he had never seen before. Everyone seemed comfortable with each other, like they had been working together for years. "This is impossible," Yelena whispered to her captain. "The Confederation has no record of humans in galactic society." Wong overheard her. "It's because we chose not to be in your records, young scientist. Sometimes it's better to watch and learn before revealing yourself." They entered a large central chamber with windows that looked out into space. Earth hung in the distance like a blue and white jewel, but Vexti barely noticed the beautiful planet. His attention was focused on the massive displays that covered the walls. Star charts showed the entire Confederation territory. Trade routes were marked in detail. Fleet positions were updated in real time. Political information scrolled past in dozens of languages. It was like looking at the nerve center of galactic intelligence. "Impressive, isn't it?" said a new voice. A human male approached them, wearing the uniform of a security chief. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with the confident walk of a soldier. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Ben Carter, Station Security. We've been monitoring Confederation activities." "For quite some time? Monitoring us?" Vexti felt dizzy. "For how long?" Wong and Carter exchanged glances. "Showed him," Wong said quietly. Carter led them to another display. This one showed historical data going back decades. Confederation ship movements, diplomatic meetings, trade agreements, even internal political discussions. The detail was incredible. "We've had observers in Confederation space for over 80 years, Carter explained. "Deep cover operatives, monitoring stations, intelligence gathering operations. Your people have been very helpful, even if they didn't know it." The Altarian in the Earth's uniform stepped forward. His name tag read, Commander Zeltar. "Captain Vexti. I served in the Confederation fleet for 15 years before I learned the truth about humanity. They offered me something the Confederation never could." "What?" Vexti asked. "Real partnership, equal treatment, a voice in decisions that affect my people." The Centauri female nodded. "I'm Dr. Tawisa. I was a Confederation scientist until I discovered that humans had already solved problems my people had been working on for centuries. They shared their knowledge freely. No restrictions, no junior partner limitations." Vexti looked around the room at the mixed crews working together. "You're all working for humanity now?" "We're working with humanity," Zeltar corrected. "There's a difference." Wong gestured to the star charts. "Captain, the Confederation believes they are the most advanced alliance in the galaxy." "They're not." "Wrong, but they're not the only advanced alliance. Humanity has been building relationships with independent species for generations." "But you're just one species from one world," Kethra protested. "How can you compete with the Confederation?" Carter smiled. "Who said we were just one species from one world?" Another display activated, showing a network of alliances that spanned the galaxy. Hundreds of species, thousands of worlds, all connected through various treaties and agreements with Earth. Some were military alliances, others were scientific partnerships. Many were simple trade agreements. The Confederation knows about maybe half the intelligent species in the galaxy, Wong explained. "We've been in contact with most of the others. Many of them prefer working with smaller groups, rather than joining massive bureaucratic alliances." Vexti studied the displays. The scope of human operations was staggering. Why reveal this to us? Why not continue hiding? "Because the Confederation is getting close to our territory," Carter replied. "We've been managing first contact scenarios for decades, but it's becoming harder to maintain the illusion that we're a primitive species." Wong walked to the central viewing window. Earth rotated slowly below them, its cities visible as bright spots on the night side. "Your people will report back to the Confederation eventually. We'd prefer they have accurate information when they do." "What kind of accurate information?" Jeltak asked nervously. "That humanity isn't a newly discovered primitive species waiting for Confederation protection," Wong said. "We're an established interstellar civilization with our own alliances, our own territory, and our own interests." She turned back to face the Zephyrin crew. "The question is, what will you tell your superiors when you return?" Yelena looked at her captain. "Sir, what do we tell them?" Vextai stared at the displays showing human intelligence networks spanning the galaxy. Everything he had believed about this first contact was wrong. The humans hadn't been discovered by the Confederation. Confederation had been discovered by the humans. I don't know, he admitted. This changes everything. Wong nodded. Yes, it does. The galaxy is about to become a much more complicated place, Captain. The question is whether the Confederation wants to be part of that complication, or if they'd prefer to pretend it doesn't exist. Carter gestured toward another section of the station. Would you like to see more? We have quite a bit to show you. Vextai realized he had no choice. His crew was already in shock from what they had learned. There was no going back now. Whatever humanity was planning, the Confederation needed to know about it. Show us everything, he said quietly. Wong smiled. Excellent. Let's start with our intelligence operations. I think you'll find them very educational. Chief Intelligence Officer Ryan Phillips walked ahead of the stunned Zephyrian group through the corridors of Luna Station. He was a quiet man with gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to notice everything. Behind him, Captain Vextai and his crew followed in silence, still trying to process what they had already seen. This way to the archive section, Philip said over his shoulder. I think you'll find our information collection quite interesting.
I bet.
Vextai's scales go pale. The walls were covered with holographic displays showing detailed information about every major species in the Confederation. Ship designs, military capabilities, trade routes, political structures, even personal information about government leaders. It was like looking inside the Confederation's most secret files. We call this the Knowledge Center, Phillips explained, as he stopped in front of a display showing Zephyrian ship layouts. Every piece of information we've gathered over the past century is stored here. Tethra pointed at her own ship's design on the screen. That's the Harmony's Edge. How do you have our blueprints? We have the blueprints for every Confederation ship class built in the last 50 years, Phillips replied calmly. Your people are very good at building exploration vessels, but not so good at keeping secrets. He moved to another display. This one showed the interior of a Confederation battleship, complete with weapon placements, shield generators, and command centers. The Confederation's flagship, the Eternal Glory. We know more about that ship than most of its own crew members. Galactic stared at the detailed schematics. This is classified information. Only the highest levels of Confederation command have access to these designs. Yes, they do, Phillips agreed. And now we do too. Dr. Emma Foster joined them near a display showing biological information about various species. She was a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and the confident manner of someone who had spent years studying alien life forms. I'm the station's chief xenobiologist. We've been studying Confederation species for generations. She activated a display showing detailed genetic information about Zephyrians. Your people have a fascinating evolutionary history. Your species developed on a world with multiple predators, which made you naturally cautious and non-aggressive. Very useful traits for exploration, but they also make you tend to underestimate potential threats. Yelena stepped closer to the display. You've studied our genetics? We've studied everyone's genetics, Foster replied. Understanding the biological basis of different species helps us predict their behavior, their needs, and their potential. Phillips moved to a massive central display that showed real-time information from across Confederation space. Ships moved along trade routes, diplomatic messages flowed between worlds, and military exercises were tracked in detail. It was like watching the entire Confederation from above. This is our current intelligence network, Phillips explained. We receive updates every few hours from monitoring stations throughout your territory. Monitoring stations? Vextai asked weakly. Small automated facilities hidden in asteroid fields, on dead moons in the outer regions of solar systems. Listen to your communications, track your ship movements, and report back to us. Phillips touched a control, and hundreds of small red dots appeared on the star map. We have over 3,000 of them in Confederation space. Foster pulled up another display showing cultural and psychological profiles. We don't just track your ships and technology. We study your societies, your politics, your belief systems. Understanding how different species think is just as important as knowing what weapons they carry. She pointed to a detailed analysis of Zephyrian culture. Your people value exploration and discovery above almost everything else. You see yourselves as protectors of younger species. This makes you excellent first contact specialists, but it also makes you vulnerable to manipulation by more aggressive cultures. Carter rejoined the group, carrying a datapad. We've been preparing for eventual contact with the Confederation for decades. Every scenario has been planned. Every possible response has been considered. They showed them the datapad, which contained detailed profiles of every major Confederation leader. We know who makes the decisions in your government. We know their personalities, their fears, their ambitions. We know which ones can be reasoned with, and which ones will see us as a threat. Vexti looked at the profile of his own governments. Leader, Chancellor, Mortec. The file contained information that should have been impossible for outsiders to know. Personal habits, private conversations, even medical records. How do you know all this? He whispered. Phillips smiled. We've had people working inside Confederation space for a very long time. Some of them have been there so long, they've become part of your society. Spies, Kethra said. Observers, Phillips corrected. We don't sabotage or steal. We just watch and learn. Knowledge is power, and we prefer to have power through understanding rather than through weapons. Foster activated another display showing scientific and technological comparisons. The Confederation believes they are the most advanced alliance in the galaxy. In some areas, that's true. Your medical technology is excellent, and your ship construction is very efficient. But, Vexti asked, dreading the answer, but in other areas you're decades behind what humanity has achieved. Your computers are slow, your weapons are outdated, and your faster-than-light travel is primitive compared to what we can do. She showed them technical specifications that made Geltak's size widen. Your ships can travel at about 50 times the speed of light. Our standard vessels can do over 200 times light speed. Our military ships can do much better than that. Phillips brought up another section of data. The Confederation has been sending scout ships to this system for 50 years. We've been tracking every one of them. A list appeared showing dozens of Confederation ships that had passed through human space. Next to each ship name was detailed information about its crew, its mission, and what it reported back to Confederation Command. The scout ship Wanderer's Dream visited this system 12 years ago, Phillips continued. Captain Hetrel reported finding a primitive world with basic radio signals. We made sure that's all he found. You hid from us, Yelena said. We managed the contact, Foster corrected. We allowed your scouts to see exactly what we wanted them to see. A young species, just beginning to explore space, harmless and potentially useful as a junior partner. Carter pulled up military intelligence files. We know the location of every Confederation fleet base, every weapon depot, every strategic resource. We know your military capabilities better than your own generals do. The display showed Confederation military strength in detail, ship numbers, weapon types, defensive capabilities, even the personal files of military commanders. It was information that would be worth starting wars over. Why are you showing us this? Vexti asked. This kind of information could destroy the Confederation if it fell into the wrong hands. Phillips and Foster exchanged glances. Because the Confederation is going to learn about us eventually, Phillips said. Better that they learn the truth from honest sources than discover it through conflict. What truth? Geltak asked. Foster activated a final display. This one showed the true scope of human civilization. Not just Earth and Luna Station, but hundreds of worlds, thousands of ships, alliances with dozens of species and technology that surpassed anything in Confederation space. The truth that humanity isn't a primitive species waiting to be discovered, she said quietly. We're an established interstellar power that has been watching the Confederation for decades. Learning about them, preparing for the day when we would have to deal with them directly. Phillips looked at the shocked Zephyrian crew. That day has come, Captain. The question now is what happens next. Vexti stared at the displays showing human power spanning across the galaxy. Everything his people believed about this first. Contact was not just wrong, it was backwards. The Confederation hadn't discovered humanity. Humanity had been studying the Confederation like scientists studying insects. "What do you want from us?" he asked. Foster smiled. "That's what we're going to discuss next." Director Lisa Wang's office had a perfect view of Earth. The blue planet turned slowly below them, its cities glowing like stars on the dark side. Captain Vextai sat across from her at a simple metal table, his world completely changed by everything he had seen. His crew sat quietly beside him, still trying to understand what they had learned. "The Confederation will offer you standard membership," Wang said, placing a holographic document on the table between them. "Protected status as a junior partner. Limited technology sharing, restricted access to core worlds, the same package. They offer every newly discovered species." Vextai looked at the document. It was the standard Confederation First Contact Treaty, the same one his people had signed with dozens of other species. "This is what we always offer." "Yes, it is," Wang agreed. "And it's designed to keep new species dependent on the Confederation. Forever, junior partners never become equal partners. They're always children being protected by their wise elders." Colonel Steve Martinez, Earth Command's diplomatic liaison, entered the office carrying his own set of documents. He was a tall man with gray hair and the confident bearing of someone used to making important decisions. "Captain Vextai, humanity would like to make a counteroffer." Martinez activated another holographic display. This one showed a completely different kind of agreement. Full partnership. Complete technology exchange. Joint exploration rights. Equal voting status in all human-allied organizations. Kethra leaned forward to read the document. "This is very different from Confederation protocols." "That's the point," Wang said. "We don't believe in keeping our allies as junior partners. We believe in growing stronger together." Vextai studied the human offer. It was everything the Confederation promised but never delivered. True equality, shared technology, real partnership. But something about it worried him. "What do you want in return?" Martina sat down across from him. "Honesty." "What kind of honesty?" Wang pulled up another display, this one showing Earth's true fleet. Thousands of ships, hidden bases throughout the galaxy, alliance treaties with dozens of independent species, and technology that made Confederation equipment look like ancient tools. "We want the Confederation to know exactly what they're dealing with when they make official contact with Earth," Wang said. "No more pretending to be a primitive species. It's no more hiding our capabilities. It's no more managing first contact scenarios from the shadows." Martinez leaned back in his chair. "Your choice is simple, Captain. You can return to the Confederation and report that you discovered a primitive world with basic spaceflight. Accept their standard protocols and watch as they try to manage us like children." Wang's smile was not entirely friendly. "You can tell them the truth. That humanity has been active in galactic affairs longer than most Confederation member species have had spaceflight. That we've been studying them, learning from them, and preparing for the day when formal contact became inevitable." The display changed to show comparative military strength. Confederation fleets looked impressive until they were placed next to Earth's hidden armadas. Human ships were faster, more advanced, and far more numerous than anything in Confederation space. "We've been patient," Martinez continued. "We've allowed the Confederation to believe they were the dominant power in this region of the galaxy. But patience has its limits." Yelena spoke up nervously. "Are you threatening the Confederation?" Wang shook her head. "We're not threatening anyone. We're simply tired of hiding. Humanity is ready to take its proper place in galactic society." "What does that mean?" Geltek asked. Martinez activated another display showing trade routes and territory maps. "It means we're going to start openly operating in this region of space. Our ships will travel where they need to go. Our traders will establish markets where they see opportunities. Our explorers will investigate new worlds. The Confederation won't like that," Vexti said quietly. "The Confederation doesn't have a choice," Wang replied. "We've been operating covertly for decades. Now we're going to operate openly. The only question is whether we do it with Confederation cooperation or without it." Martinez pulled up files showing other alien species that had already joined human alliances. 63 species have chosen to work with us rather than the Confederation. They've found our partnerships more beneficial than Confederation protection. You're building your own alliance, Kethra realized. We built our own alliance decades ago, Wong corrected. We're just ready to make it public. The display showed the true scope of human influence. Trade networks, military alliances, scientific partnerships, and diplomatic relationships that spanned hundreds of worlds. It was larger than anything the Confederation had achieved. The galaxy is changing, Captain, Martina said. The old system of one large alliance controlling everything is ending. Smaller, more flexible partnerships are taking its place. Wong stood up and walked to the window overlooking Earth. Your people will have to decide what kind of future they want. We can continue being junior partners in the Confederation, always dependent on others for protection and technology. Or, Vextai asked, or they can join a partnership of equals, share technology freely, explore the galaxy together, build something better than what currently exists. Martinez showed them another document. This is our formal offer to the Zephyrian people: full membership in the Human Alliance Network, complete technology sharing, joint military protection, equal status in all decisions. Vextai looked at the offer. It was everything his people had ever wanted from the Confederation, but had never received: true equality, real partnership, shared exploration of the unknown. But accepting it would mean breaking with the Confederation entirely. What about the other Confederation species? He asked. What happens to them? They'll have the same choice. You do, Wong said. Join us, stay with the Confederation, or remain independent. We're not forcing anyone to choose sides. You expect most of them will choose you, Yelena said. Martinez nodded. We've been preparing for this transition for decades. Most species will find our offer more attractive than continued junior partnership status. Wong returned to her seat. The age of large, controlling alliances is ending, Captain. The future belongs to networks of equal partners working together. For mutual benefit, she pulled up one final display. This one showed possible futures for the galaxy. In one scenario, the Confederation adapted to the new reality and became part of a larger network of alliances. In another, they refused to change and slowly lost members to more attractive partnerships. The Confederation can be part of this new galaxy, Wong said. But they'll have to accept that they're not the only major power anymore. Vexti looked at his crew. They were all scared, but he could see hope in their eyes too. The human offer was everything they had dreamed of, but never dared ask for. How long do we have to decide? He asked. Martinez checked his datapad. Take all the time you need. But understand that with or without Confederation cooperation, humanity is moving forward with our plans. We've been hidden long enough. Wong stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. You've seen our capabilities, Captain. You understand what we're offering? The choice is yours to make. As they prepared to leave, Vextai looked back at Earth through the office window. The planet looked peaceful and beautiful, but he now knew. It was the center of an interstellar power that had been watching the galaxy from the shadows for decades. The galaxy is about to become a very different place, he said quietly. Wong nodded. Yes, it is. The question is whether the Confederation wants to be part of shaping that future, or if they prefer to be surprised by it, Captain Vexti realized. That his simple first contact mission had become something much larger. He wasn't just discovering a new species anymore. He was witnessing the end of one galactic age and the beginning of another. The age of human secrecy was over. What came up next would depend on how the galaxy chose to respond.